Hey everyone, Robbie the Painter here. Welcome back to the channel. I was thinking, what can I teach you guys? What should I work on next? I've done a lot of different painting episodes. Some of them are time-lapse and some of them are tutorials, and some of them I show you stuff that I started or finished and I didn't film it. And I thought, maybe I'll show you just brush strokes and shapes and things like that. Show you what you can do with various different brushes. And I think that's what we're going to do on today's episode. Glad you're here with me. Let's get started. So I thought we'd take one of the paintings that I started and let dry, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it to finish it. I think we're going to take this one and use it as a practice canvas. So I'm not worried about messing it up. I'm not even sure I like all of it. I mean, it's got some cool things that I do like, but I thought we'd use this as our practice canvas to kind of work on types of brushes, what they do. What I want to show you guys is, what does a brush do when you put it on the canvas? What can you do with different brushes? And I think I'll try to make this a short video, and we'll just spend a little time with brushes. And the only colors I'm going to use today are Payne's Gray and Titanium White. Two colors, black and white. We're going to keep it simple to show you shapes with brushes. And we're going to be using odorless mineral spirits to thin that paint. You can use linseed oil if you have it. When linseed oil dries, it gives you a little glossy look to it, glossy sheen. I'm going to be using odorless mineral spirits to thin the Payne's Gray and the Titanium White. Let's take a look at some brushes. You guys may have these brushes already. If you do, great. Got a 2-inch, got about a 3/4 inch flat brush, got a 1-inch brush. Here's a hardware store chip brush that's all beat up. We have a fan brush, and lastly, we might use a liner brush. We're just gonna go brush to brush. We'll start with, I think we'll go small to large. We're gonna start with our liner brush into some mineral spirits, and then we go into our Payne's Gray and just mix that in, kind of like ink. And let's see what we can do with the liner brush. Start over here on this side. So we can make marks. If we were doing a fence, we'd make fence posts. I'm running out of paint. Dip into a little more, and we could attach rails. There, I zoomed in a little more so you guys could see. We just made a little fence. Now, if we do a lot of lines with our liner brush, just tall, short, make a lot of lines. From a distance, it might look like some shrubs. Could even look like distant trees if we put them back here. Let's just do an experiment here. A little more thinner on your liner brush. And let's come back here, right where this green hill meets the light sky. Let's just make some little marks. Little tiny ones, tall, short. And it doesn't take any drawing talent to do this, guys. I'm making marks. Maybe one of them might be a little taller or a little wider. And that. So there's your liner brush. And of course, you can do tree limbs if we were doing a tree. And we got the base of the tree down here. And get some more thinner back into the Payne's Gray. The tree, there's the base of the tree. A liner brush would make the tree limbs like that. Couple different ways to use the liner brush. We did a fence, we did some little shrubbery here. We did some distant stuff here. And we're just doing a practice. We're just practicing right now. Showing you what you can do with the liner brush. Are there other things you can do with the liner brush? Of course there is. Now let's go to our 3/4 inch flat brush. Dip into a little mineral spirits into your Payne's Gray. I put a little on one side, a little on the other side. This thing used to be real sharp, but I've used this flat brush a little more now, and so it's separating a little bit. But I like to use the flat brush when I'm maybe making mountains or something like that. I normally wouldn't put a mountain right here, but let's see, is there another spot for a mountain? Oh, let's just make a little mountain. So I would put this down flat and draw my mountain shape using this flat brush. We'll go right over here to our tree. We're not worried about that because this is practice. Grab a little more paint. We just drew a simple, kind of a triple hump mountain right there. Maybe it's got a fourth hump right out here. But I like using this flat brush to kind of draw a shape. And it didn't take any talent to draw that mountain right there. You guys can do that. We started over here, went up, came down, up, up. And if you don't like that shape, you can change it. You can do anything you want with this. You want your mountain to have a tall peak? Make it tall. It could be a volcano. You can change your mind at any time. It's your painting. You decide what you're going to do. But there's a flat brush. Now, can we use the flat brush for other shapes and that? Sure. We could do the same thing we did with the liner brush here and make. Now I'm just laying it against the canvas here and pushing up as I move across. What if we turn it long ways? Well, that gives us a different look. And as the paint runs out, it gets lighter and lighter. We could put some more right in front of it. These are just shapes. And we could take and just kind of bring that across and smooth it out. All we're doing is making shapes. Lots of shapes will make up your entire painting. You have to figure out which brush you want to use for that your distant trees and distant mountain. I think this flat brush is pretty good overall. If you were doing a distant mountain back here, you could use the flat brush just to put in, if I'm real light, if I use a light touch back here and I don't have much paint left on this, I wouldn't want to dip straight into the black right now if I was doing a distant mountain, because you want it to kind of disappear. But if I take this like right back here and just move it back and forth, and little shape, it looks like another distant mountain back there. We just put something else in here using this flat brush, okay? So I like to use it maybe to draw mountains or trees. If I was doing a tree trunk, this works good. You're drawing a tree and you come down and you do the base of the tree like that, usually a little wider. Drawing a tree and then maybe the roots and that, maybe it's got another root that comes off there, one comes out there. You get the idea. This flat brush works good if you're just going to kind of rough in the shapes that you want and that. Let's move on to the next brush. And again, these aren't the only things that you can do with these brushes. I'm just showing you, we're experimenting on what it looks like. Okay, we're going to grab the fan brush, dip into a little thinner, into our Payne's gray. I haven't even used the white yet, but you know what? We may or may not use the white. I wasn't going to do a light and dark shading episode. I was going to show you shapes. So here's our fan brush. This thing's all spread out like fingers. If we lay it on there on the canvas, look what we get. I'm just laying it. Now I'm running out of paint. See how that gets lighter? Sometimes you want that look if we're doing something farther back. So if I was gonna, this is a little bit big, but if I was gonna add something back here, I might not want very much paint on there at all, because I just want you to kind of go, oh, there's something way back there. Kind of light. But here we just made some grassy looking shapes right here with the fan brush. And we could go in again, leave a little space there, and put some more. Grab a little more. A little more. I want it a little darker because I actually want to see this, so I don't want to run out of paint when I'm putting this in front of here. And there's another grassy layer, some shrubbery, grass. We don't know. And we're just using black, the Payne's gray. If we were using color on this, you know, green or yellow or whatever, but I'm showing you what shapes you can make with these brushes. You can take that and go into a color and do whatever you want with that. Get a little more thinner, add a little something right over here on this side. Leave this light, dark here, dark there. You want to kind of mix it up. You know, when you're doing a painting, you don't want everything dark, you don't want everything light, or there's no contrast to anything. So, what else can we do with the fan brush? Obviously, the classic pine tree look. If we do, well, this thing's not making a, all right. It's not a very good looking tree trunk, and we press at the top of this tree trunk, and then over on the left, over on the right, back to the left, to the right, back and forth. Grab some more paint. All the way down till we get to the bottom. Maybe darken that up just a little bit. Fan brush works good for making these traditional pine trees. I think the fan brush works good with the grassy stuff and the pine trees. I mean, you could use a fan brush for a lot of different things, but we're gonna move on to the next brush. Let's rinse that. Let's grab the next one. Okay, we've got this hardware chip brush. Let's dip into a little bit of thinner, not a whole lot. Bring that through. Now this thing's missing bristles. It's got bristles that are sticking out this way and that way. This is one of those little, you know, 59, 89, 99 cent hardware brushes. I think I bought it in a pack, so I don't know how much, but they weren't that expensive. It is not a very good, expensive brush. But if we do the same, let's say we're doing, let's lay it against the canvas and move it up and down. Maybe push a little harder. You figure out how hard you need to push. and up and down, and then slide it across and scrub it. You guys see that? This is what I just did with this, okay? Let's do it again. Lay this against here and push up. And this way. What happens when we do that? Well, we get a line across there, but it also lays paint down that we can push up. Sometimes push a little harder. Running out of paint, grab some more paint. And we just move it back and forth underneath there. And we made another row of some distant trees or bushes. Now this is a little closer to us, it appears, so I'm guessing it's bushes. These look more like trees back here, but you get the idea. Even a cheap brush like this, you can get shapes out of. I mean, we could probably do, I'm holding it vertical. Grab some more paint. And pushing down as I'm really pushing. As I'm going down and kind of getting a little wider, I started thin up here, one mark, and then I started going side to side. I'm not being real precise. Let's grab some more paint. I'm running out of paint. I want this one dark. And then scrub in some ground down here. We just created a tree or a bush of some sort. Do we know what it is? Nope. Does it matter? Nope. I doubt if anybody is going to ask you, what the heck kind of tree is that? I don't think it's going to happen. So, we're not worried about that. So, that's the hardware brush. We made a tree and we did some bushes and shrubbery over here just by pushing up. Now I'm out of paint. Just by doing that. Okay? And we're adding a lot of stuff in here. Again, this is practice. We're not doing a painting, we're just testing brushes. I know I've said that several times. If you're waiting for this to look like a finished painting, it's not going to happen. We're practicing. I just want you guys to see you can get all kinds of shapes with your brushes. Use this on this mountain to give some lights and darks, and just pushing it there. Okay, let's put that one down, wash it. We're going to grab the 1-inch brush, dip into a little thinner. We're going to come up here and I'm going to tap it in instead of dragging it through. I'm going to kind of tap the end in, because for the 1-inch brush and the 2-inch brush, sometimes I like to use those for either leaves or grass. And again, we're just using the Payne's Gray. We're sticking in with the black. All right, we've got a little bit, not a whole lot on the end of this. We started to do this tree trunk here. If I had limbs on it, here, let's grab one of our previous brushes. Let's go with the flat. Here, we'll just do this real quick. 3/4 inch flat brush, get a little paint on there. Let's bring this tree up. Just bring it up, widen out the base of it. And let's put a limb that way and a limb out that way, and maybe it V's off that way and it comes out that way. A little more paint. It comes off that way and that way and that way. See, I'm not being precise about anything. Should be using a liner brush on this, but we're just getting the general shape and idea of this tree. Okay, we've got sort of a tree there. Let's go back to the 1-inch brush. Make sure we've got paint on it. Okay, we're gonna come up here and just touch. Need a little more thinner. Too much paint's a little thick. Don't want it too thin. That might be. All right, a little bit of paint. Hopefully this doesn't start running. We're just gonna touch at the top of these branches we just put on this tree. Well, my easel is squeaking. And we're just gonna touch, make a little clump of leaves. Let me hold this thing steady. We're just gonna touch and touch. Running out of paint, grab some more paint. Everywhere we put a limb, up near the top of that, because the ends of these limbs, we didn't draw them out into a point. They just kind of disappear. Well, we can cover that up with our leaves. Watch this. This one kind of goes up right here, and we don't know where. Let's just put some leaves right there. This one comes out here. Let's put some leaves on that one there. This one comes out. Grab some more paint. I'm not pushing very hard, but I'm just kind of tapping. Sometimes turn it sideways. You get a different look on your leaves and that. Sometimes there's leaves that go across your trunk. There's a branch we can't see, but it's holding up some leaves. Something like that. And maybe some leaves over here. When we stand back and we take a look, not a whole lot of leaves on this. We can make these a little bit bigger, give the indication this tree's got some more leaves on it than what we're seeing. It's a bigger tree than we thought. I'm just tapping. When I start running out of paint, sometimes I'll turn it to the side, see if there's any more paint on one side of the brush or the other. Because you don't know. You might, well, I just turned it over to this side and I got a little more black paint out of that. Okay, but you get the idea. And that's the 1-inch brush. So I like to use this for leaves and that. And obviously if we were gonna make this, we're doing a real painting and not a practice painting, I'd probably still start out with the Payne's Gray as my under the shadow part of the leaves. And then I'd mix up a green and go over that. I did an episode called, Trees, How to Paint Trees, where we're mixing up the sap green and the black and it makes a real pretty dark green, and we did almost the entire painting with that color there. I think we're going to stop there. I didn't use the 2-inch brush. Like I said, I like to use that for grasses, and on another episode we'll put some grassy stuff in using colors, and I'll show you a little more how to use that 2-inch brush for that. You could use the 2-inch brush for a lot of different things, not just, you know, grass and that. But I think we're going to stop here, make it a kind of a short episode. And you know, what I was wanting to do on this episode was, those of you that are learning how to paint or want to learn how to paint, showing you don't need a whole lot of talent. I didn't go to art school, and that you can make shapes that look like trees, that look like a mountain, by using a couple of brushes, you know, and just making those shapes. And of course, the farther back we get, the smaller the shapes get. Something gets closer, this tree is closer to us. That's perspective. So if we did this tree and we made it, you know, 1/4 of an inch tall, it'd be back here in the distance. But that's how you get that perspective thing, you know. But anyway, hope you learned something here on brush technique and how to use different brushes, and there's many more ways you can use. You know, if you guys figure something out, send me a line, let me know what you did with your particular brush, and say, hey Rob, I did this with it. You know, you can do this, because it may be something that I haven't thought of. So if you were looking for an episode where we do a beautiful finished painting, sorry, we'll do that on, this is kind of a tutorial. And that's what I was going for. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. I will see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.